The wagon of traveling jesters, you've shared the last days of your journey with jolts to a halt before the great gates. The road is done. You've reached Grimstone, the fortress city that bridges east and west, once the farthest eastern outpost of the old empire. The high encircling walls still wear the scars of war. Blackened stone, torn rents, ram gouges punched into iron. You thank your road companions. They look at you without a word. You can't read their gaze. Perhaps they want to warn you about the city's dangers but don't dare. Or perhaps, after so many days, they're simply tired of your company. A jingle of bells accompanies their bow before the wagon creaks away. You make for the gate. The doors stand wide, the flow of people streaming in both directions. The guards, bored and leaning on their pikes, don't spare you a glance. They've seen too much, too many things and far stranger faces pass beneath that arch. You cross the bridge spanning a moat of swift, roaring water. The dark current surges and breaks against the bridge's great pillars. The leaves of the gates, iron-banded over oak, look as if they could weather the assault of a full army. You wonder how many have met their end on that riverbed trying to breach such defenses. Beyond the shadow of the gate, a square of worn cobbles opens out. A tangle of sounds and smells wraps around you. Horses squealing, spice and wet wool, meat seared over open flame. All sorts pressed together here, dusty travelers in rags, lords swathed in fine cloth, merchants and carters bargaining with quick, sharp gestures. Between bolts of fabric and sacks of grain, Grimstone's life boils over, as indifferent to your arrival as a tide to a single grain of sand. The moment you step into the square, a warm, spiced smell snags your attention. From the brazier of a street stool rise greasy plumes of smoke laced with cinnamon and clove, threaded too with rosemary and thyme, a mixture that calls to distant places and familiar kitchens alike. The fat crackles on the grill, joining the jangle of tack and the merchant's clamour, and suddenly you realize how hungry you are. You buy a small hot loaf, split and stuffed with roasted beef and a bundle of herbs whose scent is oddly new to you. It's delicious and fairly priced. The man behind the counter is old, but his hands don't shake. His right arm hangs limp at his side, while his left works tongs and knife with practiced ease, cutting, turning, serving generous portions to passing travelers. A scar runs from temple to cheek, drawing the skin into a grin that mimics a mocking smile. In his eyes, dark and dry, you recognize a memory of war. Many fared worse. They never found their way home, nor a stall to tend. You'd like to linger, to ask questions, to learn his story, but you can't afford to tarry over other people's misfortunes. The evening bell has already begun to ring, and you have a task to complete before the day is done. You stroll the length of the square, watching the life of the city, careful not to draw attention, something you've learned to do over many journeys. Yet, as minutes pass, unease takes hold. You're not here by chance. You arrange to meet your contact before sundown, beneath the statue at the center of the square. Time slips by, the statue's shadows stretch, but there's still no sign of him. Perhaps he's only late, yet the feeling that something has gone wrong grows too strong to ignore. The square thins out, the Merlin shadows lengthen, like sharp teeth cast across the street. Only then do you understand why they call it the City of Shadows, and the name feels well earned. The sun has dipped, the bell has spent its last toll, and the air is turning colder. Instinctively you fold yourself into darkness, a safe refuge while you wait, perhaps in vain, for your contact to arrive. After what feels like an age, you accept he isn't coming. You set off to find shelter for the night. Under the arcades of the Grand Palazzi you walk with silent steps, leaving the now deserted square behind. But you're not the only one walking. Another cadence, distant but steady, cuts the quiet behind you. You quicken, veil your presence, and slip into narrower ways. Grimstone streets are a maze of alleys and steep climbs, lit only by the pale first quarter moon. You move fast as the dark allows, but despite turns, changes of pace, and sudden stops, the presence at your back doesn't fade. Your pursuer holds you, and the distance seems to shrink. You decide to act. You slide behind a broad stone column, screened from sight. You hold your breath, straining to catch every sound. Eyes wide now, tuned to the dark, reading the street's shadows. Soon, there it is again. Footsteps. At first brisk, certain, then slowing. They draw nearer, then stop. So close you can almost feel the weight shift from one foot to the other. No doubt remains. Someone is following you. And on a night this black, that bodes poorly. An ordinary person would feel fear here, but you, with your training and experience, are at ease. You know exactly what to do. The scene wakes instincts dulled by the long, monotonous road to the city. Your senses sharpen, your intuition turns knife-edge keen. You're ready. You fish a coin from your pocket and flick it a few paces ahead. Moments later, a dark figure wrapped in a cloak rushes in, peering around, nervous, trying to fix your position. He thrashes free with brute force and comes at you. Steel flashes. He's drawn a dagger, moonlight glancing off the edge. You don't hesitate, you mirror him. What follows is a fight to the last breath. He's strong, and for a moment he thinks he has you, but with feints and quick cuts you finally catch his leg and drop him to his knees. The wound is deep, but not fatal. You might still learn something, some clue to what's gone wrong, perhaps a link to your contact. Yet as he crumples, the man turns his blade and ends his own life before you can ask a single question. You grab him by the collar, demanding, "Who are you? Why are you here?" But he only stares, silent, unblinking, until the light leaves his eyes. And that's when the jolt hits your gut. Adrenaline, pure instinct. Your gaze snaps to a second form, a slender shape, perhaps a woman, wrapped in a dark cloak that seems to swallow the light around it. She stands utterly still, intent. Her features are hidden, but beneath the hood you catch two eyes fixed on you, unblinking. She's no passing stranger. There's something unnatural in how completely she conceals herself, without a sound, without a twitch. Even you, trained to catch every telltale sign, every stealthy step, are surprised. Her presence reveals itself only because she allows it, a fleeting apparition that lasts an instant before sliding back into the shadows. You wheel to pursue, but she's gone, vanished without a sound, leaving you no line to follow. You're alone again in the street, and this time the silence is absolute. You sit for a moment, catching your breath after the hard fight. You were lucky, no serious wounds. You move to the body, ready to search it for anything that might carry you forward. The clothes are sparse but practical. You find a small pouch with a handful of coins and a well-made dagger, light and nimble. You take both. They'll do him no good now. One detail snags your eye, a pendant on a chain of fine metal. Set at its center is a white stone, perfectly smoothed and spherical. In the moon's thin light, it gives off an ethereal glow, as if it held its own pale fire. Delicate and clearly precious, far too refined for a man like him. It feels like a clue worth keeping. You stow it with care, though you've no sense yet how it might help. You search on, turning his garments inside out for anything that might reveal his origin. Nothing. No marks of rank, no insignia, an anonymous ghost moving through the night. You're back where you started. Your contact never showed. You're followed and attacked, and you still don't know why. You're about to give up when something catches your eye. A tiny, crumpled slip of paper on the ground near where you grappled. It must have fallen from his pocket in the scuffle. You pick it up and, by the moon's cold light, make out its contents. Just a few simple symbols, drawn in red ink. You recognize the code at once, the language used by prostitutes to arrange services with their most discreet clients. A stroke of luck. For all his professionalism, your opponent couldn't resist one last pleasure before the job. That small mistake may prove fatal to the ones who sent him. Sparse as it is, this hint may give you a path to whoever sits behind the whole affair. Cloaked in shadow, you set off again. Now you have a clear idea of where you'll be going next.